Hey, folks, welcome to the pre-show. Just getting things all set. Whoa, hello. Let's bring that sound down. Otherwise, we get all that nasty feedback. So there we go. Everybody, welcome to the program. Thank you for being here. And we got about a little less than 2 minutes, about a minute and a half before we start rolling with the live program. As you can see, we're back in the home studio. Let me get that where it's supposed to be. There we go. And I think we're ready to go. How about that? Everything's all set up. It's all automated to a certain point. I just got to push the buttons at the right time. Testing 1, 2. Everybody hear me okay over there? I had to plug everything all back into the computer and make sure it's all set up the right way and blah, blah, blah. So if you can't hear me, say so. But I'm pretty sure everybody can hear me. At least it looks like you should be able to hear me. Testing. I'm not getting much coming through the sound there. Maybe if I bring that up just a little bit. We're good, says Chad Sanders. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Let's get everything angled the right way. Bada boom. We got about 25 seconds before we, less than that, we have to go dark. And then we get this program on the road. Let's see if I got everything going there. No, I don't. All right. We're just going to talk some ghosts tonight. So everybody hold on to your butts. Here we go. We're going to go dark. Stand.
The Intrepid radio program with Scotty Roberts. Intelligent talk.
Are you looking for a really awesome and amazing graphic designer? How about an illustrator or a photographer? This is Rainey Roberts, and I wanted to tell you how you can get my designer, illustrator husband, Scotty Roberts, to work for you on your project. Do you have an awesome self-published book but no cover, or even worse, a cover that really sucks? Do you need a kick-ass logo for your company or some f***ing awesome graphic designs for your ads or website? Then get in touch with my husband for the best f***ing awesome kick-ass design and illustration. He knows his stuff, and he's been at this for more years than I've been alive. Go to ScottAllenRoberts.com. That's Scott with 2 T's, ALANROBERTS.com to take a look at his online portfolio of work, or call 651-468-8115. Now go out and kick some ass with some kick-ass graphic design.
Hire my dad, so he can take me to Disneyland.
You're listening to the Intrepid radio program with Scotty Roberts. Intelligent talk.
How can I be muted? It's because I got everything all reset up again. As a matter of fact, even when the soundboard was muted, it was still picking me up because it was still set up with the microphone that's an internal microphone from when we were out at Andy's last night. Now, you girls do know I am broadcasting a live radio show, right? You know that? You do know that.
Yeah,
And you want to ask me questions about things that have nothing to do with radio?
Question. You got a call from this number 2 times.
Okay. That's probably somebody calling me to tell me my mic was muted. All right. So we got the soundboard all plugged in, everything. The only thing I noticed, we were getting the feedback, and I thought, why am I getting feedback? It's because we were still set on the internal mic on the computer from being up at Andy's and away from this studio. And so I forgot to check the soundboard for the muted mic. So there we go. Yeah, it's just me. It was Leslie. Thank you, Leslie, for calling. I appreciate that. Look at that, guys. I got great listeners to this show. If I make a mistake or there's human error or something's not working on their end, they will call and let me know to check stuff on my end. So there we go. Hopefully did. I hope the intro played. I think it probably did because it has nothing to do with the microphone. And there we are. Let's just move past it. So making sure all the buttons are clicked, all the dials are. I wish I could show you this from where you are, my soundboard with all the little dials and the things that have to be pushed and clicked and blah, blah, blah. And there you go. And so, Leslie, if you called, my daughter did not pick up the call. If she had, she would have been pleasantly surprised. So thank you, everybody, for being here. Roger called, too. Maybe that was Roger calling, and she saw that as well. So, hey, Carly Sagan. Hey, everybody over there in the chat room. Yes, intro played. That's good. Thanks, Sarah. And who else we got? We got Michael Jordan fans are the worst NBA fans then. There you go. Well, thank you, Michael Jordan fans are the worst NBA fans then. Nice to have you here. I don't know if you're new or if you've been here before. Leslie Holker, good to have you, of course, as always. Field Guy, good to have you. And Roger Rabbit, of course, good to have you. Oh, you called twice. That's the one that called twice. Okay, at least my kids came down with a cause tonight. I don't know what that mental block is for me with making sure that mic is ported up. I had deliberately ported it down because I thought we were running through the soundboard. Then I noticed I was getting the feedback with the mic down, and I thought, we're still on internal mic from last night. So I switched that around, then I just forgot to port it back up. It's just a thing. It's a mental block I have. I don't know what it is with that. And it bugs the hell out of me that I do that. So thank you, everybody, for keeping on top of it with me. Thank you, Chad Sanders. It sounds wonderful. And who else is in here? Matthew Sainsbury is here. And just looking through, Elderberry is here. Rudy Dog Kessler is here. Daniel Ondra is here. Oh, no, he says. I think it was probably because of my sound, is my guess. Matt Finn, good to see you. Master Finn of the chat room. I hope all is well on the poop deck. And let's see, Michelle Kenham Free is here. Good to see you, Michelle. And, I will tell you this. I put up a post yesterday about my friend Andy for finishing the book. Maybe it was 2 days ago. And Michelle Kenham Free came in and said something about it. I don't remember what your post said on that post, but Andy says to me, he's standing there and on his phone, he's looking at some of the comments and he goes, Michelle, this is for you. He goes, whoa, who's that? She's kind of hot. I said, oh, that's my friend, Michelle. So there's your, hopefully your compliment for the night. So he said, oh, I just wondered. He said, she said something nice about the book and I didn't know who that was. So I think I've covered everybody I can see without prolonging this. too long for introductions tonight. So welcome, everybody. It's Friday. It's a casual Friday. We're going to talk about some ghost stuff. I don't have anything in particular. I've got a list of ghost stories and haunted places. You know, those cheap, tawdry ghost lists from people that usually aren't investigators and don't know much about it. And they write these things to titillate and to scare people and all of that. Hey, Barbie D, good to see you. Let's see. Leslie said, LOL, he didn't say that when he read my comment. Hey, I'm 64. I'm lucky to be alive. Me too. So there you go. Well, I'm not 64. I'm almost 64. So you'd have been the upperclassman to me, Leslie. And Rudy says, hey, Matthew, hope all's well where you're at. Okay. Thought that was a comment for me. You can all talk to each other. That's okay. By the way, when I was up at Andy's, he said, you know, I'm not drinking as much anymore. I got this bottle of old bourbon. He says, would you like to have this? And it's Whistle Pig Piggyback. I don't know if any of you have ever had this. And it had been cracked into already. And I said, sure, I'll take that home. It's 96.56 proof, 100% rye, pot distilled, aged for 6 years in American oak barrels. Together we ride. It says at the bottom, RYED. Together we ride. So I've got some Whistle Pig here. We'll have to try that one of these nights on the radio show. Maybe when I have Dave, Uncle Dave is over here and we're doing some work on the basement or something. So ghost stories. I've got a bunch to launch into. And if all of you out there would like to, if you'd like to call in some of your ghost stories, personal experiences you've had. I don't need tales or urban legends given to me or things like that for this show. I want to hear what you have experienced. What have you seen? What have you dealt with? What are your personal experiences? Did grandma or grandpa appear to you after they passed away? Have you seen? Rainey said to me just today, she said, while you were gone, she said, she told me one little thing. I'm trying to remember what she said. But then she said, and on top of that, she said, somebody was leaning over me in bed last night and yelled, ah! And she said, I woke up and she said, there was nobody there. And she said, I don't know if I was dreaming that or if it was something I was experiencing. Now, remember, Rainey is somebody who is like a magnet to this stuff and always has been. And I think I've seen more ghosts because of my lovely wife and encountered the strange because of her more than I have for any other reason. So that was her experience. And there was something else that happened to her. She has weird dreams all the time. I told you about some the other night, fighting Russians and stuff like that. But there was something that happened, and I can't think of what it was. Maybe when she comes in, she had to go do a couple of massages tonight, and she's already, I talked to her about a half an hour ago. She should be here pretty quick, wrapping up those. She does massages, couples massages at some of the hotels in town. If you're familiar with the area, over in Afton from Somerset, so about a half an hour drive. And she was doing some in Stillwater, and it doesn't do so much with them anymore. But all that to say, she has interesting stories. So if you want to call into the show, remember, it's a visual show as well as an audio show. We can have your camera ready. If you don't want to talk, you don't have to have the camera on. We can just pick up your audio as well. I'm going to put an invite over in the chat room. And for those of you who aren't in the chat room, it's in the description of the show, wherever you picked up the show tonight. It's in that description. Call in your ghost stories. Now, I'm looking, again, not for stories that are urban legends or things that happen. I want to hear your stories. Even though I've got a list of about 10 haunted house stories, just because I want to give you something exciting to listen to. I want to hear your experiences. And I can start, of course, with mine. Many of you have heard my experiences, and I talk about them a lot on this show. and all the different things we've done and the different things we've seen. I know when Rainey and I were at the Palmer House, this is one I haven't talked about much. Palmer House over in Sauk Center, Minnesota. An old, who was it? It was the guy who wrote Sinclair Lewis, used to, famous old author, early 20th century, used to frequent that place. And he had some stories from there. And while we were there, we had several encounters. I know Rainey and I, we were sitting on the second floor landing of the staircase there. And she got somebody talking to her through the spirit box. And then it said something like, "Here comes Chris." And who rounds down on the lower landing and starts coming up is Chris Fleming, was there with us. And so he came up the steps. And so we spent some time with him. Some of the guests there, they took pictures, they saw things. There was a very interesting little video that a young lady came over with her mom to show me that they had picked up in one of the rooms. And you see it's very dark and it's hazy, you know, the way camera phones do. And this was 10 years ago at least. And you see the hangers hanging in the closet. And then you see a hand. It looks like this. If you're looking at the screen, just a hand came up like this, almost as if it was like photoshopped almost. Hand came up and it moved around like this without its fingers moving, and across the hangers, and all the hangers started moving like this. And she ran that video down just after she took that video and said, "You have got to see what we just experienced upstairs." And so we all went up there, and of course there were different things that we saw there. There was also the debunking of some things there, which is not really why we go there, but really liked the owners of the place. And she had this photograph, and it was taken from the second floor landing, looking down to the middle landing between first and second floor on the staircase. And you could see out the lace curtains, and it looked like the shadow of a little boy going like this, looking in the window, shading his eyes, so you could see in the window. And I said, "That looks really, really odd. It's a great picture, but let's take a look at that." So we went up to that second floor, and we looked down to the landing, and of course, there he was through the curtains like that. You could see the shadow. And this was during the daylight. And so I went down and I looked, and it wasn't a boy at all. It was some of the pipes out on the roof, in that lower section of the roof outside the landing. And one of the exhaust pipes came up and did a curve or something like that, which was like the arm or the hand coming up. And there was a stack with a weird chimney top on the stack. And they were at different levels of focal point, but they lined up. When you walked together and they lined up, it looked like somebody was standing there like this. And I said, "I hate to tell you this, Kelly," the owner. I said, "but I think we figured out your ghost." And she used to have that hanging in the front entryway. And I think the last I heard, that picture got taken down because you could see it clearly from the second floor looking down to the landing. There was no mistaking what it was. So you gotta pardon me. I gotta put on my glasses to read the chat room. All right. Now I put that link in there for a reason. I know y'all got ghost stories. There was somebody who contacted me today over on my Facebook page. And he asked if he could come on and talk about some of his ghost experiences. Philip, if you're out there and you're listening tonight, Philip S., you can come on in if you want to talk. Come on in the show, and we'll talk about some of your ghosty stuff, your personal experiences. And I invite you, if you need the link, come on into the chat room over on YouTube, and I'll shoot you the link, and you can come on that way. Hey, Diana Atkinson, I know you have ghost stories. Come on, give me a call. I want to hear some of your experiences. I know you were, we did one investigation with you, or I think only one that I remember. I know Dave Potter has a lot of ghost experiences. And now that I say that, and I tell you all to call in, I got to dig out my headset just in case one of you calls in, so I don't get the feedback. I had it in my briefcase, by the way. By the way, this is part of the reason I hate cats. See that beautiful old briefcase? I've had this for years. You see all those white marks all over it? You know what that is? That was the old white cat, who I affectionately named Stupid Cat. He thought one day it would be really fun to sharpen his claws on my vintage attaché leather case. So now it happened long enough ago that it's kind of seasoned now. So patinaed, it looks like. Yes, and there we were. There we were in the jungles of Afghanistan. And I was being fired upon by the nap-headed, rag-headed enemy, the turban-laid enemy, and I had my attaché, and the shotgun blast blew off him. You know, I could make up a story about that, but it's just a kitty sharpening his claws. So Leslie said, pretty sure it was my late husband, Alan. I know I'm coming in late with that. Yeah, Matthew, we have no stigma on this topic. I think it's a great topic. So let's get some of those calls, guys. If you want to call in, you'll pop right into my... Now, I know for those of you listening, I usually gauge shows where they say, come on, people call in. And I think, oh, nobody really listens to your show. Everybody calls in from time to time. It's just when you ask, people are like, oh, I don't want to come on. But the captain's cabin is where we do more of that. So let me take, I'm going to plug in my headset while we're at it. Pardon me, I've got to turn this. There's more of my lovely basement. I got to find the port for my headset. Bang, there's the port to my headset. We're all plugged in. And pretty soon this is going to be pretty down here. Uncle Dave lost me. Oops, he said. I'm still here. There, I hear myself now. All right. So those of you who have personal experiences you want to share, I will post that link into the YouTube chat room. I think it will also appear over on the Odyssey radio page on Facebook, as well as the Intrepid radio program page. So come on over and share your stories. In the meantime, I've got 23 creepy stories. And it ranges from a house in Honolulu to the Ackley House in Nyack, New York, the Chop Chop House in Boise, Idaho. What else we got? Gray Gardens in East Hampton. I heard a beep. Maybe somebody's popped in. Matthew, you got a personal ghost story? Matthew, what's your personal ghost story? How you doing?
Good night, Scotty Roberts. Well, since it's coming up to the month of what I had to experience because my loss occurred at the very end of October, you see. Well,
you're a little choppy. I'm not quite understanding you.
Oh, yeah. You can hear me better now?
No, it's just, I think it's a connectivity thing. It might be something down there because every time you call in to the show, we've got this, it sounds like you're talking through a fan.
Oh, dear.
So it's a little broken up, but go ahead and give us a shot.
Yeah. Well, since this next month, it would be a little difficult for me because the very end of the month is when I had my loss. So there was an event that occurred with me a few months ago where I was having, I was troubled. My mind wasn't very settled or anything like that. And I was having difficulty in resting, but I finally was able to go to sleep. This is after I had took Will Bird's book and I visited my dad and I read some of the story to him and so. And as I was sleeping, sometime around, I think it was 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning or something like that, I was in dreamland, but somebody came and sat down at the side of my bed and I actually felt the weight of the bed go down. And it happened in a way that it brought the time between sleep and reality and it woke me up and I recognized that weight. So I looked around to see if any person was in the room, but I didn't see anybody. But I felt some comforting feeling of the person that sat next to me. And I knew that weight, and I recognized that weight. And I have a feeling that, it could be my dad because I knew how he felt. Yeah. See, it could be.
Happened.
So,
and I hate to tell you, I'm missing probably 3/4 of what you're saying is garbled. but I'm hoping people out there can hear you a little better. And
Yeah.
there's Ken Ballos, by the way, came into the chat room. If you want to call in Ken, you can do that as well, because I know Ken's got some great ghost stories tonight. I'm going to paste that link into the chat room once more. Matthew, I got to let you go because I can't quite understand. It's not you, because I've talked to you a million times. It's the connection is not acting very
Connection
well.
audio. Okay, all right. Okay,
type some of your stuff into the chat room. Thanks, Matthew. Hey, Alexandria Weiss, it's good to see you. If you want to call in, I'd love to have you come in. You've got ghost stories. She's down living in the old New Orleans, and I hope you're okay down there. You didn't get too much residual coming in from the storm. But why don't you come on in, Alexandria? I'd love to talk to you. I haven't talked to you in a while. She is an author. She shares my agent, and she's got a lot more books out than I have. And she does, I would call them mysteries, fictional mysteries. She also does historical fiction, really amazing writer. So I love seeing you in here, Alexandria. You call in if you get a chance. Love to talk to you. There's Uncle Dave. How you doing, Uncle Dave? Oh, and here's Alexandria.
Great. How are you tonight?
I'm good. I see you were in the traveling circus on wheels there, and so
I am.
I'm going to add Alexandria
I'm at
Weiss to
Masonic
the.
retreat.
I'm going to take the banner off so we can see everybody. Hey, Alexandria.
Hey.
Oh, I'm not hearing
you.
you.
Me? No, I can't.
Oh, barely hear you.
Can you hear me better?
Just a little bit. Let me check and see if I can bring your microphone up on this end.
You're a little choppy right now too, Scotty.
I can't. It's automated. There we go.
All
okay,
right,
Alexandria, try again. I've got your mic ported.
Scotty, yeah, I got my mic on.
There we go. Now it's a little louder. I had to see if I could turn you up a little bit.
I hear you.
Regale us.
Regale you. Okay.
Yes.
Yes. I grew up in the French Quarter of New Orleans, so I lived with ghosts all my life.
Yeah.
Like you do.
What kind of experiences have you had there? I know you were talking to me once. You said you should come down to New Orleans. And of course, when I was down there in Louisiana, I never got over there. But you were telling me about the ghosts of New Orleans.
Yeah.
I can hear you.
Yeah, we had a cottage in the French Quarter, and it was very haunted. To the point where we had ghosts knocking on the walls. We had you saw images floating by. What the creepiest things that happened were if you had cats sitting in the room, the cats would watch something walk across the room all together. All their heads would turn at the same time.
Oh, wow.
We had
I've experienced
would
that.
float by sometimes. Sometimes you'd see like a candlestick or something float by.
Sure.
You'd see images in mirrors, and radios would turn on and off. TVs would turn on and off. And there were two little kids that lived in one side of the cottage, and you just knew there were kids there, and they were very mischievous. They got into things. They liked to steal stuff out of your purse and move it around.
Nice.
The cottage we lived in, the family, he was a Spanish admiral that built it, and he and his wife and the children were all buried under the courtyard. So, and then we had behind the courtyard, you have a carriage house, and they all died of yellow fever. And there was a nun that would go up and down the staircase in the courtyard in the carriage house. And everybody saw the nun all the time.
Right.
So it was very haunted, but it's the French Quarter of New Orleans. Everybody had ghosts. Everybody has ghosts.
That's what I hear about New Orleans. That's a very spooky, can be. It's very picturesque, very historic, but also filled with the ghosts of all that history.
Yeah, but it was it gives you a little bit of different upbringing, and of course that all made me the writer I am. So, that's I love ghosts and I love ghost stories. It's just fun.
Now, your personal experience, have you ever, with all the little things that happen and the things that the animals will respond to, the taps and the knockings and all of that, have you ever had what I would call personal experience with a ghost? Have you ever seen it face to face? Have you ever seen them materialize? Have you ever communicated with them?
Oh yeah, it's if you ever slept at night in your bed, you woke up all the time with people sitting and looking over your bed at
Oh
you.
boy.
It would scare you a little bit,
Yeah.
but then they'd fade away, and then okay, I'm being watched.
Yes.
So
I had when I first met Rainey, this is about 17, 18 years ago, there had the little boy that was in my house. And we had a good friend of mine and her mom, Dave, since you're in the chat room,
Amanda.
Mandy and her mom, Kay. And they came over and she did some readings and found that there was somebody in the house and they named somebody I had dated in high school, of all things.
wow.
And she had passed away. At that point, it was 2005. She had passed away 13 years earlier. Severe diabetes, and it took her and during childbirth. And so she passed away. And this particular spirit gave her name as who she was. And my friend's mom, Kay, she spat out that name, and I said, "You aren't going to believe who this is." And as that story unfolded, and I've told it before on this show, so I won't go into a lot of detail, but the next morning, I'm all alone in the house, and it was a January morning, unlike a New Orleans January morning.
Yeah, really.
We had about 4 feet of snow on the ground, and it was below zero. And but it was not a cloud in the sky, and a gorgeous blue sky and crisp, clear, sunny day. And all that light pouring in the windows reflected off all the white outside. And I'm standing in my bedroom, and I have a California king bed at a diagonal in the corner. And it was a big, Dave, you remember this house, the Bloomington house. It was a two bedrooms that had been made into one. So the huge floor space, all wood floors. And so I'm standing in the doorway of my bedroom, and I'm looking over toward the bed and the wood floors, great expansive wood floor between us. And I said, Tammy, if that's really you, I said, I wouldn't mind knowing it. You can contact me. I said, stay here. I said, I'd like to know. And I said, but how did I put it? I said, I think at first I said, so Tammy, let me have a sign to tell me that you're here. And right as the words left my mouth, you hear this big tong on the floor, the wood floor between me and the bed. It's about 12 feet there, and it hits the floor, and it sounded like somebody had dropped like a 5-pound mallet on the wood floor. And I was like, that'll do, I said. That sounds good. And Kenny Ballas, by the way, I see you out there. I'll get to you in a minute. And so I heard this, and then I said, you are welcome to stay here, and welcome to be here. Don't scare my kids. And I said, you can communicate with me anytime you want, but certainly don't come and hover over my bed at night, because I am sure I will pee my sheets. So I said, let's just get it out there. Let's be honest. But I never heard much from her in that house, but there was all kinds of activity in that house and all kinds of stuff that always happened. So, and Rainey remembers a lot of that. I thought she was the catalyst for it. And by the way, my friend, Kay, my friend's mom, you're talking second and third generation witches with them. And she would come into the house many times when I had people over, and she'd say, "Scotty, I got to tell you," she said, "I feel the presence of a jealous woman in the house. Somebody who's jealous that the women are here, jealous of the women you date, and they're going to make their presence known." She says, "I feel it right now." And of course, then she told me, she said, "This is who I was feeling that day." And this young woman. And then I had to tell her the story of who Tammy was. Because she came out with the name. She was doing a pendulum reading. And when she's trying to find out, she gets Tamara Barnhart spelt out on the pendulum. And I got chills from the back of my neck, down my arms, all the way down to my legs, like I've never felt before.
And you don't
like
just randomly pull a name like that out of it either.
And randomly pull it out and spell it. And I said, "You aren't going to believe who Tammy Barnhart is." And and of course, I was madly in love with her when I was 16 or 17 and she was 16. So
they're always communicating and they're always there.
Yeah.
It's just, you have to open yourself up to it.
Ain't that the truth? I kind of envy the place where you live. I don't really want to live down south. It's not my thing. I had enough when I was in Lake Charles of Louisiana. No offense.
You did.
But and I was only there for 4 months. But man, the stories that I'm sure you have, the things you write about, how much of your writing is influenced by what you've experienced growing up in New Orleans?
Oh, a lot of it. I mean, I had a very different upbringing, especially in the French Quarter of New Orleans. I mean, I grew up with musicians,
Sure.
Tennessee Williams was a family friend who'd come over and he'd play gin rummy and drink coffee and Cavassier at 8 o'clock in the morning. So,
wow.
I had a very different upbringing. So, and that has influenced my writing a lot. And especially, having, the ghost background and the French Quarter is just totally haunted. And it was fun. It was different. That's influenced me a great deal. So, yeah.
Hey, tell people where the best place to find you is. I can find you on Facebook. If I message you, you generally get back to me within an hour. But where's the best place people can find you and find your books?
People can find me on Facebook. They can go to my webpage, www.alexandriaweiss.com, and message me there. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Instagram. I'm on TikTok. I'm everywhere. And everybody that contacts me, I respond. So, I'm always responding with readers and stuff. So, but thank you for having me,
guys, you got to go check out.
Scotty.
What's that?
Thank you for having me. I've always been wanting to talk to you, and I finally got a microphone that works.
Don't be a stranger. Great. Call in again.
Yeah, call in.
Join us in the chat room any day.
We should just have you on for a whole show and talk about your work.
Oh Lord,
I would love to do that. We'll keep you yapping. We'll have people calling in and everything. So. Thanks, Alexandria. I appreciate it.
Scotty. Take care of yourself.
You too. Talk to you soon.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Hey, KB.
Hey, Scotty. We usually got
doing?
You know, good.
How are you doing, sir?
Coffee. I'm having my coffee. I'll tell you what, man, you got a great show going on tonight. I just got off Myth Loaded and Paranormal now, so time me to jump on over to the other side of the fence. And I see you talking about the paranormal tonight, and you talking about ghosts. And how you doing, Dave? Glad to see you there, brother.
You got a good ghost story?
Whatever you guys want to hear, I can tell you one or two little ghost stories. And, like I said, last week, I think when I was on here last week, we talked about that guy that had that died in the house and the pictures and things like that. We've done some amazing investigations during our time, and
you got sneaking in beside you there.
I got Val. She was I was on her guest
Val?
show tonight, and I did a live show, jumped on there with her, and so we jumped over here, and should be bringing some people over here shortly, I believe. We told them to make sure they join you all tonight on the on your show. So we have some of our friends now will be coming over to join you, and like I said, you got a great show going on tonight. I'm sitting here trying to think, and I'm kind of dumbfounded here for a second until I get my head going. You know, when you get my age, your head got.
Hey, I'm almost your age.
Yeah,
so I know
well,
what you're talking about.
Yeah,
Well,
I
you're doing
understand
this,
that.
Scotty, do you have a favorite of mine that you want to hear?
I do.
What is it?
I missed that. Say it again.
Do you have a favorite one of mine that you want to hear? Favorite?
Oh, I see what you're. Hey, come on down. Dave, I thought you were asking, do you want to hear a favorite of mine? And I'm like, oh, sure.
Yeah, let me
Here's
let me hear a
my
favorite
beautiful
of yours.
wife, Rainey. Just walked in the
Rainey?
room.
Hey,
How you
love.
doing, Rainey?
There she is.
Glad to meet you.
And oh, you can't hear anything. Here.
No, it's okay. I'm
There
not
you go.
sticking that dirty thing in my ear.
Yeah, that's the clean one. I licked it clean.
How you doing, Rainey? Glad to meet you.
Hi.
That's Kenny. You met him one time, KB.
Yeah,
And,
so, you know, Rainey,
there's
like I tell
Dave.
people, I'll tell people all the time, Rainey, it's good to meet KB. You know why? I'm
Why?
up this way and not this way, so that's a great thing. That's the best thing about it.
There it is.
That is that.
And you got Val back there with you too, folks. So Val has
that's
her
Legend
show
of
as well.
Paranormal. She's joining it tonight and sitting back and watching Liberty's show, so she can enjoy it. And
He's got me half cut off. So
yeah, I got a half cut off. It's
Pan
All
your
right.
camera to the left a little bit there.
I didn't quite hear that, Dave.
I said he should pan his camera to the left a little bit.
he did. It should.
To the left?
Uh,
That way?
Dave,
Oh,
I'm doing it.
Ken. Yeah.
Yeah, I did that. You know, I wouldn't have did it for you. So should I do that? I'm trying to think what story to tell you guys. I got so many of them here. I guess one of the stories it still sticks in my mind is the Cold Harbor battlefield
Oh, you're not gonna stick around.
down at the old apartments. And I think I told you guys about it maybe a week or two ago. So that's not a story I can think of anyway. It's about the time somebody felt like they got shot in the mouth, the plane blew up, and they felt everything had happened, and they left me in the room by myself. You know, of course, I came out a few minutes later and climbed over top of everybody and went to safety. You know, so that's one of the things. I'll tell you what I'm doing. Right now I can't think of anything. Like I said, I just
That's
got
all
the other
right.
show. But what I will do is I will go off and let somebody else come on and tell a story. And then if I can get my mind straight, I'll come back on if you'll have me, and I'll tell you I'll tell you a story.
Well, I'll take it up with the Grand Council and we'll see.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Dave.
So we've got what about I don't have my glasses on. Don't you hate that? That's another thing about getting old.
It's 9:46 our time.
9:46. So I've got about 9 minutes left with the radio show, and then we stick around after we sign off on the radio show for the Captain's Cabin.
There you go.
And so you can come in anytime you want, Kenny.
I appreciate it.
Captain's Cabin is the after show, the afterglow.
Yeah, and I'll
this
think of
show.
something to come up with, and maybe I can tell you
All
guys something. So you guys that are out there, don't go anywhere. Don't touch your dog. Keep it where you got it. He'll be back in a few minutes with the captain's chair. All right, Captain, and he'll
You
be back.
tell
So
him.
don't
You
go
tell him,
anywhere.
Ken.
Yeah,
All right.
don't go
R.
anywhere. Don't touch your dog. All
I
right.
gotta say it here. Dave, give us an R.
All right.
I'd like to buy an R.
I'll tell you what. I'll give it all she got. I can't give her no more. And if I give her
All
no
right.
more, she can blow, Captain. That's all I can say.
Can't give her any more.
All
All right, we'll see you in a bit, Ken.
That's it.
See you,
That's all I'm
Val.
doing.
ah,
All right.
Okay. So we were
So,
out in
Dave,
Bethany, West.
some of your
West
favorite
Virginia.
stories.
I got one for you. So we were out in Bethany, West Virginia, shooting a film.
Mhm.
And the gentleman that was playing the lead, it was a biopic. The subject of the film was a gentleman named Alexander Campbell who had come from Scotland and started a church here in America with his father. And he was a Presbyterian minister from Scotland, but they came here and they were disenchanted with the Presbyterian church at the time because you had to do things like you had to have a communion token to get communion, and only the business people and the wealthy and well-connected got these things, not the homeless and the poor and the disaffected and the people that really needed the word of Christ and the bread of Christ and so on and so forth.
Sure.
And so they came over here and they said, it's a new country. Let's form a new church. Let's do a new thing. And he also formed a seminary, a college up in Bethany, West Virginia. And we were filming on location in his house. Okay. The initial part of the house was built in the 1700s. It had been added on to in the 1800s, steeped in history. It's the kind of town where during the Civil War, he had students from both sides, and so they would do a thing where a Confederate colonel would say, "I'm coming up to see my son," and he'd come up with a whole bunch of troops, and they would put up Confederate flags, and they would welcome him, and he would spend, the Confederates would spend time with their kids, and then they would leave town, and then the Unions would come to town, and they'd put up American flags, and they just played both sides.
Sure.
and stayed neutral as much as they could. Anyway, he's
Good
sitting
luck
in
with
the,
that. Yeah.
he was going to stay in Alexander's home, and he was going to sleep in his bed that night. Okay, just really wanted to. It's kind of a method actor. He just really wanted to get into the character, wanted to feel the whole experience, right?
If you've got a pair of his boots, I'll put them on and I'll sleep in his bed.
We'd already had one of the producers and I had already had 3 or 4 experiences in the house, so we knew the house was occupied, if you will. Okay, so he goes up to the house, gets dropped off there by the caretaker about 9 o'clock at night. It's in October, so it's already getting dark.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes in and lights some candles because they don't have electricity on this floor. And he's laying in bed, and he just can't quite fall asleep. There's like this uneasiness. Okay, now he's not one to believe in ghosts or having had experiences and stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just was uncomfortable. He couldn't quite figure out why he was uncomfortable. Every time he'd lay down in the bed, he said he almost felt like he was being suffocated. He didn't like it.
Okay.
So
I wouldn't like that either.
It's getting fairly early in the morning, and Alexander at 4 o'clock in the morning would go out. He had an octagon study in front of the house, and he had a simple chair. In The Patriot, where Mel Gibson is building the rocker with the real thin spindles.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
Okay, so this is a 4-legged chair, not a rocking chair, but of that style with a desk attached to it, like All right. Okay. Jefferson, I think, had one of these as well, so he could sit and lay the book on the desk or write in the chair and such like that. So he thought, I'm going to go out to the study, and I'm just going to read the script. Okay. And he went out to the study, sat down in the chair, and he decided he was going to read the script from front to back. It's like a 45-minute read. It's not a real long film. And so he reads through, and suddenly the whole crew's showing up, and it's noon. And he's like, what the heck? I didn't fall asleep. How can it be noon? Had all this time lost. Couldn't explain it. Came inside, was talking to us about this, and the caretaker was there, and he goes, well, what do you mean you went in the study? The study's locked. It's got a padlock on it. I didn't unlock it, and I'm the only one with a key. And they went out there, and it was locked. And he's like, no, I was in there. I sat in that chair. I went out at 4 o'clock in the morning. It was unlocked. And he's like, can't have been.
Somebody wanted to show off his study. This is my study.
The way the house is laid out, with Alexander's bedroom is in the front of the house. If someone had driven out there to unlock it, you would have seen the car come down the road. You would have seen the car come up the drive straight at the house. You wouldn't have missed it. It would have illuminated the whole front of the house with headlights because it was already getting dark when he was dropped off. And he can't explain it. He says he went in that room at 4 o'clock in the morning, read the script once, and came out, and suddenly it's noon, and we're all standing around, and the sun is out, and when we went back to the study, it was locked.
See, that's somebody's either messing with you, or somebody wants to show you something.
Dan, I believe the later on that.
Oh, I thought you were going to say something else.
No, I said I believe the latter on that. What you said.
Yes.
Somebody was trying to show us something.
Somebody was showing you something. Speaking of somebody showing you something, we've got Dan over here. Scott in Mermania. Scotty, I've told you about my experiences with roadkill. I pass by a dead deer and I get a jolt, a shiver. The spirit of the trapped deer enters into me for the space of one breath. Then usually it passes on as I exhale. Sometimes it tries to linger and I literally can't breathe. I feel like a passenger as the spirit borrows my senses. Then he goes on, but since my father died, what's
Have
that?
you seen that? Have you seen that video of the deer? There's a video, a deer that was hit by a car, and it's caught on a, I don't know if it's a Ring camera or a highway camera or something, but it's caught on camera, right? And the deer tries to stand up and falls over, and then this essence in the shape of a deer stands up from the deer and leaps off. Leaving the body there.
Leaving the body. I have not seen that video.
Oh my God. It is the weirdest thing.
Dan goes on here, but since my father died 2 years ago, human spirits have been doing the same thing. Sometimes they borrow my senses as a passive role. Sometimes I literally find myself bewildered by the whole experience. That's really interesting stuff, man.
No, thank you.
He says, sometimes I feel they're terrified. I'm sure they are. They're drawn to the light in the road at night and smack, and somebody runs them over. That to me, that goes into that whole debate I would have. Daniel, Mermania, you may have heard me talk about this debate before. We've talked about it, but in the church, there was always the debate over do animals have souls or spirits and so on. And we talked about that on this show. Are you a dichotomist or a trichotomist? Do you believe in body and soul, or do you believe in body, soul, and spirit? And so I kind of put up a good argument with a friend of mine because, you know, my training was in biblical studies and textual criticisms and all of that, systematic theology, if you will. And there are tons of passages in the scriptures, the Old Testament, which would be the Jewish scriptures, and the Old and New Testaments together, the Christian scriptures, that talk about animals being in the presence of God. And, you know, things as simple as where it says, I think it's in the book of Psalms, where it says, not a sparrow falls, but God is not grieved in his heart. And it talks about how all these different passages about animals and how God treats animals, that they're his creation. And it was interesting that when he created everything that he had made according to, okay, folks, don't anybody go ape shit on me here. And by the way, we are almost out of this show. We are out of this show. How about that? We just talked right through the end of the show over at the radio station. That's okay. If you were listening on the radio, come on over and join us in the chat room. But this idea, and this is where the dichotomy and the trichotomy comes in, is that the dichotomist would believe that, and you had God creating all these animals in the Jewish, and this is where I say don't get offended or anything or go ape shit, Jewish mythology, religious or biblical mythology. Mythology not meaning it's necessarily false if you believe in it, just means this is the body of work and stories. And so in the biblical mythology, it says that God in the creation created all things, and all these animals. And finally, he comes down to creating man. But then it says, and he breathed into man's nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living soul. And so what I think that seems to indicate, and the other passages, well, hi, kitty. I got the kitty jumping up on my desk again, peeking around my computer, because I put him down about 30 times off the desk today. I put him down on the floor, and he just hops right back up. Oh, hi, this is a fun game. Yeah, right. And so that's after stepping. Well, come here then. Come on. And so did God, when he created the animals, did he give them a body and a spirit? And then to humans, he gave body and spirit, and a living soul. So dichotomy for the animals, trichotomy for the humans. That's what made them different from all these other.
Are you saying the spirit and the soul are different?
Just a second. That was very funny. She's not hurt. That's why I'm laughing. She's on the back end of my computer, and she's like, haha, I'm on your desk. And she slides off the edge of the desk, and she's clawing at everything to try to stay on the desk. And it's all slippery, finished stuff, so she couldn't stay up. So she went down on the floor.
Are you saying spirit and soul are separate?
Spirit and soul might be different things. That they're way different things. Or is soul an aspect of spirit that the animals don't have?
I might be open to that in that I don't buy the whole you can reincarnate as a gnat or a fly or
I don't either.
Or whatever.
I've never bought into that. I see Sarah's saying a lot of stuff over here. She said,
don't be shy, Sarah. Get the hell in here.
Yeah, come on over, Sarah. So I have to change my personal shields. Mermania says to Sarah. It's an ever-evolving thing, she said. Matthew says allegory. Allegory is a different thing than myth, but yeah, something like that. And Leslie says, Sarah, it's more than lovely. I carry those dreams with me because, like other dreams, I felt them and I remember every aspect of them. Now, I didn't see what the antecedent to that is, but I know what you're talking. I get the idea of what you're talking about. Unlike other dreams, Leslie says, I experience them, I feel them, and I remember every aspect of them.
I don't like the idea of welcoming other spirits into your body. That's not a good thing.
No. Yeah, I don't either. I think they can influence. I think you see some of these ghost hunters on. I watch a bunch of different ones on YouTube that aren't quite ready for primetime television, and you see them. You can come and use my body and come into me. Now, Ghost Adventures, they used to do a lot of that. They would say, Zach Baggins would always say, you can use my energy, but you can't. And in essence, he was saying, you can use my energy, you can't inhabit me. If you need my energy and that's when they'd get all faint in the head and stuff like that. Mermania says, and the cephalopods will inherit the earth. Octocotomy. There you go. Thank you, Mermania. David Potter says, Leslie, they aren't entering my body. I'm experiencing interaction with them. That's what Leslie's talking about.
Oh, okay. But Dan,
I like Dave's answer there. Okay then.
No, I was talking about Dan. Dan was talking about them entering his body.
Oh yeah.
Hey,
Sarah.
Hey guys.
Nice to have you. Bless you, by the way.
Hello.
Still getting over my cold, but
is my pipe bothering you?
Huh?
Is my pipe bothering you? Is the smoke bothering you?
Yeah, that's it.
Right. No, I was just listening to everybody in the chat room, and they've had some very interesting experiences. I wish they would have shared them on air, but in terms of ghost stories and everything, there's not just the scary ghost stories. Like Matthew's account, with his dad. It was a more comforting, or what Leslie said, it doesn't, having a ghost story doesn't mean it has to be a scary experience. It can be humorous. It can be, comforting. It can be, all inducing. You have the whole range of emotions that, a ghost and a paranormal encounter can provide you with.
Yes.
Yeah. And those kind of experiences are far more common than the scary ones.
Yeah, it's that saying, bad news travels quicker than good news. So, people always want to hear, oh, this happened to somebody. What can I do to avoid that happening to me? And that sort of thing. It's more, it's more of like a warning tale.
And don't you think people are much more interested in telling the scary story than the my mom came and visited me after she died.
To comfort me, yes.
Yeah, right. Partially because those are more personal, and I think partially because they think people will think they're wacky for seeing that. They'll accept the fact that something jumped out at them or grabbed their hair or scratched their back or whatever, but they're not as accepting of, Mom just came to let me know she was okay and that I can go on.
Yeah. And there's also, that that aspect, that neurological aspect, of being scared. You have that, fight or flight experience that, releases serotonin in the brain. So it's kind of like almost like an addictive sort of thing.
Sure.
Being scared and,
and it can be.
go out. Yeah, they can go out into
The opposite.
and
The opposite of that can be very addictive too. Not so much the being the scared, but the curiosity of getting drawn into looking and researching and so on.
Right. I mean, and even that can be taken to an extreme because, there's also cases of paranormal obsession forming. Like a person may become obsessed with, taking EVPs or using a Ouija board. But I mean, there's a fine line between, having an interest and having an obsession. When you read into obsession
Agreed.
phase, it, it's taking over your life. It takes over your life. Where it's it's causing harm to your your regular life. You're solely focused on that thing versus going out with friends,
Right.
being able to function, all that sort of stuff. So
Right.
So
Well, it's and I've had a few experiences that I know are experiences from people that I loved and had passed away. Not many. And both the experiences I had were focused on one person. And it was my aunt who passed away. I had a dream that was a contact dream. And I also had her communicating with us over a spirit box. And I've told both of those stories ad infinitum over the years. But she was the one we picked up. My daughter Bryn and I. Bryn was 16, so this is 14 years ago. Sitting out at the ranch. It was 10:30 at night. We're on 40 acres of the horse ranch, and there's farms all around us, so it's not like we're in the city and picking up things. And we're all alone at the house, and we picked up a voice on the spirit box, and we were just talking to the room. There's no microphones. Nobody knows what we're saying. It wasn't a hoax. It was a random thing we did, and we got a woman's voice that said hello. It said it was Andy, my aunt who had passed. And as the conversation went on, that voice asked me, "Where's Janie?" My mom, her sister. And "Where's Janie?" the voice said. And I said, "My mom?" "Yes." And the answers were like right on top of my words almost. And I said, "Well, she's in Arizona." And the voice said, "Oh, that's right." And this is the conversation we had. And I was recording it, and the disc that it was stored on, one of those drives, a terabyte drive of some kind,
right,
it vanished. So that conversation is gone forever. And it vanished, like 10 years ago. And so I don't know whatever happened to it. But it was an interesting conversation. Then when we were done, I said something to the effect of, because I wasn't getting much answer or conversation. And I said, "Okay, well, I'm going to take off. So we may try this again sometime. Good night." And I hear, "Good night." And it was... So, nobody can hoax that. Somebody would have to be sitting there waiting for us or finding our frequency, which there was no frequency because we weren't broadcasting. We were just talking to the room. So, and the very interesting thing, we had a news crew came out to the ranch house from some small town in Minnesota. And they wanted us to come and take a look at, and we did, take a look at an old church or the old city hall and stuff like that. But they filmed us. And then she sat and did some interviews at our house. And I said, this is what we were doing when I told her this story of my aunt. It was very recent after that. And as we're talking, she said, can we try that right now? And it's broad daylight. It's the afternoon. I said, sure. And I just turned it on. And I said, is there any, and their cameraman is filming. And I said, is there anybody here that would like to talk to us? Andy, are you there? And then you hear something like, I'm here. And I got to tell you what, there was like 2 exchanges like that. And this young, I want to say young, cute, college age intern probably doing this her first, she was so freaked out, she had to leave. Okay, I think we got enough now. And when that broadcast aired, I think it was down, Dave, it was down in like Alexandria, Minnesota. And so when that aired, she said right there to the anchor, she said, I'm going to air you this story, and this freaked me out. And so it was interesting.
Are you booked on the October 27th?
Booked on the 27th?
Yeah. We're going to the Triune building with the lodge to do haunted evening.
Let me check my overburdened social calendar.
I planned on calling you and Sarah,
Thursday night,
Soderman today, but I didn't get a chance to.
Yeah, I'm wide open on Thursday the 27th.
Well, plan on being in St. Paul then that night.
All right.
You can bring Rainey if you want. It's not a guy.
Fantastic.
We're going to open it up to the public, and I'm hoping that Sarah will also join in.
Is there food?
There could be food.
Yes. Okay, we're in. Color us hungry.
You're going to leave the kids all alone at night near Halloween?
27th? Yeah, we're in a good neighborhood. You know? Yeah, we got the 13-year-old boy.
I'll pay John and Brianna to come over there and terrorize
There
them
you go.
outside.
We'll get somebody to come over and hang with
rattle the doors.
Or Grandma might come over and hang with them or something for the evening. We'll work something out. But we're gone the weekend before that, Rainey and I, on the 21st and the 22nd. That's a Friday and a Saturday, I do believe. Let me double check. It's not Thursday and Friday. Friday and Saturday, we're going out to the Minnesota Renaissance Festival, which will be closed down by then for the year. But the guy who runs the Feast of Fantasy out there, Jim Cunningham, does the Phantoms Feast at Halloween. And he's had us out. Rocky and I would do this every year. For the past 7 or 8 years, I think. And Rocky and I would come out and do a ghost investigation after their banquet. And he does a little show, a magic show. He's kind of set up like a Victorian parlor, you know, and does his show. And it's really cool. And then we'll come on and we take people out to the buildings out at the Renaissance Festival. Walk around the outside if it's not raining and cold. It can get pretty chilly that time of year at night up here, even if it's not snowing. And so but we've gotten some pretty wild stuff. You got to figure that site sitting on top of a stone quarry filled with ancient oak groves. And then these buildings that have been there for 50 plus years.
Well, and there was a farm out there in the 1800s that was taken down, I believe, in 1862 during the uprising.
There you go. I didn't know it was during the uprising. I just heard that there had been during the Dakota uprising, which we've talked about on this show. I didn't know that. Where did that sit right on the site where the site is?
Well, okay, so Marilyn, not Marilyn Carr, but the other Marilyn who used to be in charge of jurying in the vendors, crafters. When they first built the pavilion, she went out to take pictures of it. So it's midsummer, it's daytime, it's she's just taking pictures of the building so they can put it in the new broadsheet and stuff that's going to be going out to market the festival. And she took a bunch of pictures and came back. And in one of the pictures, so you've got pavilion by itself, and in between pavilion with a family dressed in 1800s clothing, the girls in their white dresses and so on and so forth, the old farmer and all that, all standing together in front of, between her and the pavilion, like they're getting photographed.
Wow.
And
that's
she was
interesting.
the only one on site, other than maybe Joanne might have been out in her trailer. But other than that, nobody was out there.
And folks, I'll tell you, the Minnesota Renaissance Festival is in Shakopee, Minnesota. And I've talked about some of the names of all these little towns down there, that part of Minnesota, from Mankato up to Shakopee to Cheska to Chanhassen. I don't think that one's the Indian name. You had Red Wing.
But the town of Broughton is just, the town of Broughton is not far from there, and it was completely hit by the natives.
That's right, by the Dakota. And so this is the Renaissance Festival is down in that area of the state. And so now I'm going to have to look into that, because that would be interesting. They say the festival also sits on the crossing of ley lines, that there are guardian spirits out there of the festival.
Used to be a lot of fae out there, but I don't feel them anymore.
Yeah. And there's something, the festival is, I hate to put it this way, it feels like it's dying.
The ground is dying, for sure.
Yeah.
All the big oaks are dead, and it's just, it's not the same.
It's not the same place. And, but there were magical moments out there, magical times where you could feel it. Dave and I were, Dave was building a live chessboard at the falconry stage for the combat chess. And which is a show that got put on a couple times a day, and
the unicorn stage
now, and so it's each square was like 2 feet by 2 feet. That gives you the idea of the proportion of this stage. And
3 by 3, I think it was bigger than
3 by 3,
pretty good size.
Had to have room to fight, and so was the idea. And we're out there, and you could see from this stage, which is kind of in the corner, one of the corners of the fest. And you could look out, and we saw all these old oak trees, and we're building this. It was in the middle of the summer, I believe, because it was before Fest started.
And they were big oaks. They were 100 years easy.
Yeah, easy, 100 years old. And some of them are still there. And many of them are still there. The whole place is like a big oak grove. And,
but they're all dying.
But you could see the branches, as evening came. And Dave and I just sat there. We were sitting drinking something, and just looking at the trees moving in the wind, and the beautiful sky, and just how magical the place was. That's 20 years ago or more.
Why do you feel that the area is dying?
So it's in a quarry, and they're quarrying around the site. So they've dropped the water table. No longer sustains water up to the height that the festival's on, where all the oaks are. So
well, there's that, and I think just so much change out there. The spirit of the people has changed. It's not the same. It would be like some geographic place or a little town that used to be very spiritual, and then the outsiders come in and they become part of the town, and they bring something new with them, and they don't believe the old ways, kind of thing, and it had that feel to it, like there was a changing of the guard, or like a wave gone back out to sea, and
change in earth energy.
Yep, the whole energy of the place has changed over 20 years. Yeah. Synchronicity, Scotty, says Michelle Cannon-Free. Exactly. And Matthew Sainsbury, you're talking about the same thing as we're talking about when we talked about the Dakota Wars here, that there were like 1,200 of them rounded up, all brought to the concentration camp in the river flats below Fort Snelling up here, which you can still visit there today. I've told stories about that place. But they had, I can't remember how many men they wanted to hang, warriors, Dakota warriors. And they had to bring it all the way to Abe Lincoln. And Abe Lincoln said, I'll allow you 39 minus 1. And I don't know what his reasoning was. There's nothing that ever really documented his reasoning for that. It was like 200 men they wanted to kill. Lincoln said, I don't think that's a good idea. And he says, and he got it down to 38. And they had a mass hanging at Mankato, where Mankato State University is now. The little town of Mankato. They built a gallows, and they hung them all at the same time on the largest public hanging ever of 38 men at one time. They were all Dakota. And that's what Matthew's referencing.
I really hate calling it the uprising. It's how we were brought up calling it the uprising.
Yeah.
But really, it was a reckoning.
It was a reckoning.
They had wrong, and they were standing up for themselves, and
Yes.
rightly so.
So yeah, it wasn't. Sorry, and it's like the, the battle of not the Little Bighorn, the battle of Wounded Knee. It was called the Battle of Wounded Knee for years, and it was nothing. That never happened. There was never a battle. The army surrounded the Native Americans who were dancing the ghost dance, like 1892 or something like that.
Yeah.
And it was one of the last massacres, and they gathered them all up, and they were taking all their guns. And there was one guy who was deaf, and he was saying, he was gripping his gun, and he said, "This is my gun. I paid for it with my own money." And they tinned him. And apparently one of the stories is that in the scuffle, the gun went off, and then the soldiers just all started opening fire.
Yeah, after they'd already disarmed most of them. So most of them were unarmed.
Yep. Most were unarmed. And that was the last. But the newspapers out east called it the Battle of Wounded Knee. Wounded Knee. When what it was the massacre at Wounded.
It was a slaughter. Yeah.
Yeah. And you can still go there today. You can go to Wounded Knee. This is something, Dave, maybe we should take your camper out there with Rainey and the kids this next summer. But I wanted to go out there and visit. We could bring some tents and stuff. And for a couple of years, I've been wanting to do this, to go out to the Custer battlefield, the Little Bighorn, or as the Native Americans call it, the Greasy Grass. Custer's last stand took place there and all of that. But on the way is Wounded Knee, and it's on the Lakota reservation. I'd like to get Ruben to come down and guide us through all that. But there's a monument you can see there that is put up on the reservation, and it's a mass grave. And it's, if you look up the Wounded Knee massacre and the mass burial, you'll see pictures of this grave from 120 years ago, almost 30 years ago, when they buried all these men, women, and children in this mass grave. And then the Native American tribe put up a monument, and it's like the rest of the reservation. For years, it was kind of in disrepair, concrete blocks around the outside of this, and a chain link fence, and the concrete was wearing away, and it had this like a wrought iron. It had two brick columns and a wrought iron arch over the top of the entryway to this mass grave. And so they've gotten some donations, and they fixed that all up, and it looks nice. But
we definitely should have Ruben come with us, because he can translate when we start getting Lakota over the spirit box and stuff.
Right, that's right. And so that's an interesting spot. It grips my emotions now. I don't know what I'd be like if I was there, but so you could go look it up, Matthew. You can look it up online. Anybody who wants to, look up the Wounded Knee Memorial on the Pine Ridge Reservation, and you'll see all about that. So,
has anything been done in like a ritualistic level for for those particular spirits, as far as
at that site,
showing compassion, or
I'm pretty
sure they've done many dances and stuff to help send them on their way, but
it's traumatic.
I think that there were things done. I think even at Fort Snelling, where we got the voices, Rocky and Rainey and Sarah and I got the voices, Sarah Soderlund, coming through the spirit box in the middle of the afternoon on the site of the old concentration camp there, which is now just woods. They've got the Dakota have put up a memorial there. You can look up at the Dakota Monument at Fort Snelling, or the Dakota Memorial. It's just big logs that they put together, and
It would be nice to like plant a tree or something,
yeah, I think they probably did some things there. There were circles. It was a little flooded out in the woods from the when we were there, heavy rains and stuff, and the little swampy areas in the woods. But they had these paved pathways for biking and walking all through there at Fort Snelling State Park, but they had these sticks in the ground, and it looked like the kind of thing you'd see if excavationists were coming out and marking your gas lines in your yard. A wooden stake with an orange or pink flag tied on it, little plastic. But out in the woods, in the middle of this, you saw circles of these that looked just like that. And I thought, and I didn't know at the time, I didn't know what that was. I wondered, is that something to do with memorializing or prayers or ceremony? And apparently it's part of ceremonies that get done out there. And so you can also look up the pictures, and I've shown them on here before, of the Native American camp, the concentration camp down below the fort. And it's I think I've even got, since we're talking about it, I'll show you that picture. But
we are kind of straying down a rabbit hole from what our topic is.
Yeah, we're in a little different rabbit hole. But let me see if I've got this in here.
Well, Native American spirits are spirits too, so.
That's right.
Yeah, I don't mean that, but
and there is quite a story there as well that we had, as far as you want to just fit it into the ghost story issue. Let's see. No, I don't have it there. Dakota.
I think that would be a great show. We should do that.
You get Ruben on. Just do entire Native American.
Have Ruben
stories.
fly out and be with us.
Yes. I don't know that I have any. For some reason, I'm not seeing any of the pictures I had.
We have such a huge budget for the show. We could do that.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll make it work. So, I would love to do something like that live. Anyway, I don't have the pictures here. You can all look it up. The concentration camp at Fort Snelling for the Dakota. And so anyway, there's that. And of course, I can't tell this, even though I've told it a few times before. I can't do all this mention of that site without mentioning what we picked up. We had the spirit box on, and we're hearing all kinds of things coming through the spirit box. Sarah Soderlin was there, and Rocky was there. I don't think Rainey was with us the first time. Yeah, she was. She was there with us. And we've got it set up, and you're hearing voices coming through, and it's 2:30 in the afternoon in the autumn, and we could hear, and Sarah said, "Do you hear that?" There were children singing. Indistinct. You couldn't make out language. It wasn't English. There were children singing. There were children laughing, crying. There were women and men talking, and it was all over each other. And everything from crying to laughter to gruff voices. And I remember we had some interaction. We didn't record any of this. We were just there, and we were doing it live to see what we would get there. And when I closed it all down, I said, "Well, we're gonna be done." And I said, regarding the spirit box, I said, "If there's anybody here who would like to, and you were here in the concentration camp, you were part of the Dakota tribe," I said, "If you have anything to say to us, what would be the message you'd want to leave us with as we sign off?" And immediately a man's voice, a gruff man's voice, said, "Remember us." And that was it. And then it went quiet. And there was Lakota language and the Dakota language. Reuben recognized some of that. So it was very interesting. site. That's Fort Snelling in Minneapolis, right on the river.
Yeah, there is that
Snelling with
saying
an
that
S.
ghosts are history that refuse to be forgotten. So I mean,
Yes.
that's consistent.
Yes.
And a lot of it, especially with the interactions that people have with ghosts, a lot of the times it's either for acknowledgement or they have things to work through on a therapeutic level, to need to be kind of not convinced, but I mean,
Yeah.
to go where they need to go. I mean, it's the same as in life. So
Yeah. Well, guys, I think we're going to call it a show tonight.
All right, then.
I ran right through the end of Intrepid Radio because we were talking. And just ran right through it. Didn't
you
even
have
realize
to
it.
remember that 30 seconds in after you start talking to look into the chat. Because
Yes,
nobody will tell
look into
you
the chat. We're over.
30 seconds.
So we've done that before in the past. Rocky and I have done that before where you go, oh, shit, we just went 5 minutes overtime. And it just cuts it off on the radio station.
Practice
So.
your lip reading. So
yeah. All right, Sarah, good to hear you. I hope you get better and better every day now.
Yeah.
Feel
We'll have to
better.
see how this in the next month goes because it's October. So
That's right. Tomorrow's October 1st.
Yeah.
So all you out here, rent's due tomorrow.
Yeah, I should be in North Carolina at a show, but couldn't deal
I
with
know.
my ribs the way they are. I
couldn't
sent
do it.
messages to both the girls, and I haven't heard back from them. I've got stuff to send them. I'll have to get it sent off Monday
They're
morning.
so busy. My
I know they
daughters
are.
with
I know
their
they are.
Finn folk, they started up a booth at the North Carolina Renaissance Fair. So you'll all, if you live in that area, all head out to the North
check it out.
Carolina Renaissance Festival. Check out Finn Folk Productions or Finn Folk.
I hope things will be okay because the storm is up there now. Or
Yeah.
up there this weekend. So
I don't know if it's going to
It'll
hit
be
North
raining at
Carolina
least.
quite as hard. It was coming into Charleston, South Carolina.
Yeah, I think it's past
today.
Charleston now. I mean, it was supposed to be hitting like Myrtle Beach and stuff. I think tonight, and then it's supposed to be up that way tomorrow. So.
And Charleston's a couple hours, I think, drive from Charlotte, North Carolina.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Anyway, so good night, Sarah. See you
All right,
tomorrow.
thanks, guys.
Have a good night. And Uncle Dave, we'll
You
talk
and I
to
will
you
talk on
probably
Monday.
tomorrow as well.
We'll talk on Monday. Well, on Sunday morning. I'll try and be up here Sunday morning for chat.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
I'm at this. As long as I wasn't going to Charlotte, we have scholarships we do for this event through our lodge, and one of my brothers came down with COVID, and he had one of the scholarships, and they were trying to decide what to do, and I said, I'm in town, I'll use it, I'll go, because I've been here every year, and I wasn't going to be here this year, but so jumped in the motorhome and drove up here today, and
nice.
Yeah, it's a good time. We talk a lot about we've got the at least the guests that are here. We're going to be talking Templars. We were talking astrology today and how the numerology works into the divine plan and all that kind of stuff.
That's pretty cool. We'll have to do a show on that.
We should.
So-
We've had Randall Carlson here. That's how I got to meet Randall Carlson. He was here a couple of years in a row, and we became friends.
That's neat. Yeah, he came and spoke once or twice at the Paradigm Symposium. So
yeah.
All right,
So-
and
I
Daniel
finished my
says
bowl,
Central
so-
North Carolina here. We've had wind, rain, and a few power outages in Central North Carolina. So there you go.
All right.
All right,
Give
Dave.
the little ones a hug from me, and
I
give
will.
Rainey a
They're
hug
up
from me,
watching,
and give yourself a hug
Hocus-
from me.
They're watching Hocus Pocus 2 right now.
Oh, excellent.
So-
Excellent.
All right. Have a good night, Dave.
When Ellery came down, I was like, "Oh, Ellery, you don't want to sit through this show because we're going to be talking ghost stories." So
Nice. Yes.
I want to freak her out.
There it is. All right, brother. See you
All right.
soon. Everybody else, thank you for being here. Michelle Kedem Free, Susie Q, Field Guy, Matthew Sainsbury, Daniel Craig, Who else we got in? That's Mermania. Matthew, I'm sorry if I gave away your secret identity, Daniel. And everybody else who came in tonight, thanks for being here. Thanks for giving me your time. And at the same time, thanks for putting up with me running over the show at the end. But it was all one big show if you're here in the chat room. So there you go. All right, everybody. Live long and prosper.